Hello everyone! Welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and in this video, we are going to be analyzing Legendary Nanna. So yeah, Legendary Nanna is our newest Earth Legendary, and hopefully we'll be able to discuss her best builds and role, what sort of counterplay options she has, and whether or not you should pull on her banner. And I do recognize that this is kinda late, and that most people that would have pulled on Legendary Nanna have already done so, but for those that generally wait until the later end of the banner, as everyone should, hopefully this video will be able to be of use. And as always, if you like the content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz helps support the channel. Would be super amazing if we can reach 900 subscribers, and yeah, every single subscriber really does help with the YouTube algorithm and all that, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. So Legendary Nanna is a very offensive red sword cav, basically a player phase nuke with land sword, which grants her attack and speed plus 6, 7 HP to the unit after combat, and ignores percentage based damage reduction and prevents the defensive specials from being procced. And in addition to that, she has a Preference B skill that enables Canto Rem plus 1 and deals true damage equal to 20% of the unit's attack and the Desperation effect. And so as you can see, Legendary Nanna is a very player phase oriented nuke. She almost ignores all damage reduction from things like Spurn, Dragon Wall, Brave Ike, etc. Ignores Aegis and Pavice, so Hardy Fighter saves are just shredded. The only damage reduction that Legendary Nanna doesn't ignore is flat damage reduction from things like Shield Pulse, or more infamously, a Spring Maria. And so, with that true damage and desperation, you have a very consistent strong power that will be able to shred through a lot of bulky units, even if they have high defenses, and the Canto that she has in her Preference B allows her to get back to safety, and can generally sort of hit and run with that bit of mobility, which really helps, especially given her lackluster enemy phase. So her playstyle is pretty straightforward, to be perfectly honest. She functions similar to Brave Erica in that she just like nukes hard and then gets out with Canto. That is basically the gist of how you want to use her. Of course she can Gale Force, but the lack of slaying does hinder that a bit, but when thinking about building her as a unit, there are a couple builds that I see are most optimal. Of course, you can always go budget. Her base kit is fine as is. You could just add Blade Session to the seal to give more attack and speed. Moonbow is a very staple special that is budget and can definitely help to deal with high defensive units that Legendary Nanna can't proc or can't defeat otherwise. And Miracle, that she comes with her base kit, I don't really see having any use, to be perfectly honest. You do not want to enemy phase with her at all. And so yeah, the playstyle as mentioned is similar to Brave Erica. You just go in, you nuke, you go out, and this really does help shred very bulky save balls and other damage reduction units like potentially Brave Ike, especially with Brave Ike being green. If you want to get a bit more creative, you can run her as a Galeforce unit. Heavy Blade plus Quicken Pulse allows you to charge Galeforce in 2 hits. Unfortunately, she doesn't have Slaying as mentioned before, so you have to run Quicken Pulse, but if you have Thor and run this on Anima Season for Ether Rate, you can swap out Heavy Blade for something like Surge Sparrow, and you'll just get the special charge with Thor. Menace skills are generally not that useful in a Galeforce strategy because, for one thing, they really only affect one unit, and in general, at the start of turn, you're outside the range of the Menace. So Savage Blow, I think, is a good budget option to enable that chip damage. And for the B, honestly, you can swap out the Preference B for Wings of Mercy, or you can keep it and have Nanna be as an initiator. The thing that I feel iffy about as her as an initiator is that it can get tricky to get her into WOM range. She doesn't really have a reliable way to do that. And so I feel like she's probably better with WOM and can, even without the true damage or desperation, can really help bust near save units hardy fighter near save units, or with like damage reduction like Valentine's Gustav. For a max investment build, you can definitely run her in Arena, and the catch for attack speed catch 4 on her A will allow you to be more consistent than attack speed push and synergizes very well with attack speed menace. This is a lot more consistent of an attack speed buff than attack speed push, and also helps keep her above the 25% HP threshold. I mean, I know she does have healing, but I personally would prefer the extra 7 healing than just 2, right? And so yeah, this is an extremely dominant build that can definitely power through Arena in Earth Season. Her ignoring damage reduction gets her through Fallen Star, it gets her through Life Unending because it prevents defensive specials from proccing, so Legendary Fae is just in the dust right now. And in Arena, a Kanto gives great mobility, which is extremely appreciated in Arena. Anything that provides mobility in Arena is really good due to the limited and restricted nature of Arena, which is why things like Future Vision and To Change Fate are still so good to this day in Arena. And so Kanto providing that extra mobility is really good. There are some downsides to Legendary Nanna though. For one thing, she is melee range, and so it sort of limits her impact, especially in modes like Summoner's Duels. In Summoner's Duels, most Hardy Fighter save units are far save, which are generally the more important save class. And so her actual impact is, and what makes her unique in ignoring defensive special procs, is greatly limited by the fact that she's just melee, because again, far save is just way more important than near save in something like Summoner's Duels. In addition, her Kanto unfortunately isn't fixed. Rem +1 Kanto isn't as consistent as, say, Brave Erica's fixed 2 Kanto, or Reagan's or Oder's 3 Kanto. And so this is more talking about Summoner's Duels, but due to the nature of how Summoner's Duels work, in general, you generally have to expend a lot of movement to be able to attack the enemy, and therefore you don't really get that much Kanto movement back, so to speak. And so again, consistent Kanto is a lot better, but she could still work there. It's just a little thing that you have to make note of, and I think this is not so much of a downside since she isn't meant for this, but she does have not that great survivability and really no defensive stats. And so if a unit is able to avoid her double and survive her first hit, more likely than not, that unit will be able to retaliate back and take down Legendary Nanna. And she doesn't really have any defensive stats or defensive skills that she can use effectively, unlike something, say, Brave Alm, who can run Close Call and have a lot of bulk that way. And so things that you can use to counterplay her is, as mentioned before, outspeeding her or just getting within 5 speed to avoid that double, which helps prevent the desperation effect from mattering. And since she doesn't really have that defensive capability, you can usually retaliate and defeat her. And of course, prominent near save units like Brave Hector or Ascended Idun definitely can make her have a lot of trouble, especially being blue. Fun fact, an unmerged near save Brave Hector counters a +10 max invested Legendary Nanna. So yeah. And obviously other fast non-green units can as well, especially those Noes that are supported by Legendary Elwood. You know the ones that I'm talking about in Summoner's Duels. Obviously I mainly talk about Summoner's Duels because in Arena, I do think that she is a very good unit, and probably the second best unit of Earth Legendary. As you can see, I personally still think Brave Claude is still number 1 because flyers are very good in Arena with the flyer favorite maps we have, and gravity being able to be inflicted on the enemy helps restrict the movement of the enemy, which again, movement and mobility is extremely important in Arena, and so Claude being able to restrict that is really good as well. And of course, he also has damage reduction too, 80% damage reduction on the first hit. Combined with that gravity, Claude is generally going to be hit one time on the enemy phase with his high speed, and so can generally just go in and survive. And so, obviously not against Nanna, but generally you'll probably be gravity restricting Nanna anyways. But I do think Legendary Nanna is very strong and probably the second best Earth Legendary that we have. Earth Legendaries are honestly sort of lacking compared to, say, Wind with like Legendary Sigurd just running rampant. But no, like Legendary Nanna is extremely good because again, her player phase potential in being able to nuke Legendary Claudes, Legendary Phase, Legendary Tikis, Legendary Grimas, all that is very important, and being able to cancel out. And so I do think Legendary Nanna is probably the second best. Following that is Julia and Alm, who honestly are still pretty good. Being ranged is really helpful in Arena because it can force the AI to do rally loops, which helps with clearing those maps. And they are still able to perform as player phase nuking units. And Tiki, even though a lot of people slept on her Refine and Remix, is an amazing far save unit, being able to take on Legendary Claude and even take out Claude if properly speed stacked. Obviously though, Julia just absolutely wrecks Tiki, so that prevents her from being higher. And then in C tier we have Legendary Faye and Grima, the dragons. Faye, I feel like, would have been so much better if she was an armor unit, because that miracle effect would be really good on an armor unit, but unfortunately she is infantry, and so can't exactly save the other units, or she's basically just pure enemy phase at that point, an enemy phase infantry unit. And Grima is held back by scoring, or if you want her to score properly, you have to get rid of her preference A, which really limits her combat potential. And then after that we have D, which is Seliph, who has no player phase, only enemy phase, an enemy phase Cav, and honestly is just really disappointing, to be perfectly honest. But not as disappointing as Ike's Remix and Refine, who honestly he got really robbed. Let's be real. And hopefully IS does something better, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. But yeah, now the question is, should you pull on this banner with Legendary Nanna? And really I see two scenarios where I would recommend pulling. Just two. The first is that you are just getting into Arena and you really need an Arena core. Red has an Earth, a Fire, and a Wind Legendary. Like, that is 3 seasons that you could just summon on Red and get a bunch of highly merged legendaries that way, and just honestly be set. Like, Lilina, Sigurd, and Nanna will do you amazing for Arena. And so if you're new and getting into Arena, this is a really good starting point. Obviously, you should only go in with a lot of orbs, and I personally recommend over 1500 to either get as close to +10 as much as possible, because again, in Arena, having highly merged units is very important. The other scenario would be if you need light mythic merges. In colorless, Ashe and Milla is a really good share for ether raids, and any single merge on either of those units helps you in score. An additional merge grants you 16 score in addition, so that is a very significant. But again, you generally want to go into these banners with a high amount of orbs, so I personally recommend at least 500 orbs. Otherwise, if you're not covered by any of those scenarios, I do recommend skipping. But yeah, those are my thoughts and analysis on Legendary Nanna and her banner. Let me know in the comments if I've missed anything, or if you think there are other scenarios where you'd want to summon on this banner. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help support this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate it. Let me know if you're planning or have already summoned on this banner or not. And yeah, see you all next time. Thank you, everyone.